Pregnant wife demanded we name our baby after her ex's choice. I refused, so she ran off to clear her head. Turns out she's been cheating with him for a year. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be here sharing my life's most messed up drama with you, but I guess that's how life goes sometimes. My name is Almos, and my wife Maria and I have been married for 5 years. We met in college, and I thought we had the perfect love story. She was the love of my life, my partner in crime, and the person I thought I'd grow old with. Everything changed when Maria got pregnant. Initially, I was over the moon. We were finally going to start a family, and I couldn't wait to be a dad. But things started getting weird when we began discussing baby names. Maria had this fixation on the name Janos, which she claimed was a family name. It was a bit old-fashioned, but I was open to considering it. One night, we were lying in bed and she brought up the name again. Almos, I really want to name our baby Janos. It means so much to me, she said, her voice unusually insistent. I understand, Maria, but we should pick a name that we both love. Why is this name so important to you? I asked, genuinely curious. She hesitated for a moment, then finally admitted, it was my ex-boyfriend's favorite name. He always said he'd name his son Janos. I guess it stuck with me. My heart sank. My pregnant wife wanted to name our child after her ex-boyfriend's preference. That didn't sit right with me. Maria, I can't believe you want to name our baby after something your ex wanted. That's just weird, I said, trying to keep my cool. You're overreacting, Almos. It's just a name, she snapped back. We argued for hours that night, and things got pretty heated. Eventually, she stormed out, claiming she needed to clear her head. I thought she just needed some space, and that she'd be back in a day or two. Little did I know, this was the beginning of a nightmare. Days turned into a week, and I hadn't heard from Maria. I was worried sick. I called her friends, her family, anyone who might know where she was, but no one had any information. I even considered filing a missing persons report, but then I got a text from her. I need some time to think. Don't worry about me. I'll be back soon. I was relieved to hear she was okay, but something felt off. Why did she need so much time away from me? I tried to focus on work, but my mind was constantly racing with thoughts of what might be going on. Then one day, I got a call from my friend, Boland. He sounded hesitant, like he didn't want to tell me what he knew. Almost, man, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I saw Maria yesterday, he said. What? Where? Is she okay? I asked, my heart pounding. She was with a guy, Almos. They looked pretty close. I didn't get a good look at him, but I don't think it was just a friend, Balint said, sounding genuinely concerned. My mind went into overdrive. Who was she with? Why was she hiding from me? I needed answers, so I decided to confront her directly. I texted her, demanding to meet and talk things out. A few hours later, she finally agreed to meet at a nearby cafe. When she walked in, she looked tired and disheveled, but she still had that same fire in her eyes. Almos, I'm sorry for disappearing. I just needed some space, she started, but I cut her off. Who was the guy, Maria? Who were you with? I demanded. She looked taken aback, but then composed herself. He's just a friend, someone I've been talking to. He was helping me sort through some things, she said, avoiding eye contact. I didn't believe her for a second, but I didn't want to push too hard and risk her running off again. We talked for a while, and she eventually agreed to come back home. But the seed of doubt had been planted in my mind, and it was growing fast. Things were tense at home after Maria returned. She was distant, and I could tell she was hiding something. I tried to give her space, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. Then, one night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a message. Normally, I wouldn't invade her privacy, but my curiosity got the better of me. The message was from a guy named Tibor. It read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Miss you already." My blood ran cold. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Who the hell was Tibor, and why was he talking to my wife like that? I scrolled through their conversation, and what I found shattered my world. They'd been seeing each other for almost a year. I confronted Maria as soon as she got out of the shower. "Who the fuck is Tibor?" I demanded, holding up her phone. She went pale, her eyes wide with shock. "Almos, I can explain," she stammered. "Explain? You've been cheating on me for a year while you're pregnant with our child. How could you do this to me?" I was yelling now, my anger boiling over. She started crying, but I couldn't feel any sympathy for her. "It just happened, Almos. I didn't mean for it to go this far," she sobbed. I was furious. "Get out. I can't even look at you right now," I said, my voice shaking. She packed a bag and left, and I was left alone in our empty house, my mind racing with anger and betrayal. How could she do this to me? To us? The days after Maria left were some of the hardest of my life. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and all I could think about was how my wife had betrayed me. I reached out to friends and family for support, but it was hard to talk about. Everyone had their own opinions, and while some were sympathetic, others were less forgiving. One night, Balint came over with a bottle of Palinka. "Almos, you need to get out of this house. Let's go for a walk," he suggested. We walked around the neighborhood, and I poured my heart out to him. He listened patiently, and then he said something that stuck with me. "You deserve better than this, Almos. You need to focus on yourself and the baby. Maria made her choices, and now you need to make yours." His words gave me a sense of clarity. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could control how I responded. I decided to focus on preparing for the baby and rebuilding my life. I reached out to a lawyer to start the divorce process and began attending therapy to deal with the emotional fallout. Meanwhile, Maria was still in contact with me sporadically, mostly about the baby. She was staying with Tibor, which only added to my anger and heartbreak. I tried to keep our conversation civil, but it was hard not to lash out. One day, she called and asked to meet. "I want to talk about the baby and figure out how we can co-parent," she said. We met at a park, and for the first time in a long while, we had a calm, honest conversation. She apologized for everything she'd done and admitted she had made a huge mistake. She said she still wanted to be involved in our child's life and hoped we could find a way to make it work. I listened, but I was firm. "Maria, I can't trust you anymore. You broke my heart. We need to focus on what's best for our child, but I can't have you in my life the way you were before." As the months went by, I slowly started to rebuild my life. I moved into a new apartment, focused on work, and prepared for the arrival of my baby. Maria and I established a co-parenting plan, and while it was awkward and tense at times, we managed to keep things civil for the sake of our child. The day our son was born was a mix of joy and pain. Holding him for the first time, I felt an overwhelming sense of love and responsibility. I named him Levente, a name that was meaningful to me and had no ties to Maria's past. Maria was there too, and seeing her with our son was bittersweet. We had once dreamed of this moment together, but now it was tainted by everything that had happened. Still, I vowed to be the best father I could be and to put my son's needs above all else. As time passed, the pain of Maria's betrayal began to fade. I focused on being a good dad and finding happiness in my new life. I even started dating again, though I was cautious and guarded. Trust would be hard to rebuild, but I knew I couldn't let my past define my future. One day, while playing with Levente at the park, I ran into Balint. We sat on a bench, watching my son play, and talked about everything that had happened. "You've come a long way, Almos. I'm proud of you," he said, clapping me on the back. "Thanks, Balint. I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, feeling a sense of gratitude for my friend. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I had survived. I had a beautiful son, a supportive friend, and a future that was mine to shape. Maria's betrayal had been a painful chapter, but it wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of a new one, and I was ready to embrace it.